All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I'm V. Ravi Kumar and with me is Subhadra Ramachandran. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to attend program on Save Soil movement on the occasion of World Environment Day in New Delhi at 11 a.m. today. Prime Minister to launch global initiative Lifestyle for the Environment Life movement virtually this evening. Government to launch Clean and Green campaign on World Environment Day. Urban local bodies across the country to hold awareness programs to free the country from single-use plastic. President Ramnath Kovind to pay homage to Saint Kabir at Sant Kabir Nagar in Uttar Pradesh, also to visit Varanasi. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu arrives in Qatar, accorded ceremonial reception and guard of honor at Doha Airport. New ministers of Odisha government to be sworn in at Bhubaneswar today. Union Home Minister Amit Shah inaugurates the 4th edition of Khelo India Youth Games 2021 at Panchkula in Haryana. Rafael Nadal to play for 14th French Open singles title against Casper Ruud this evening. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will attend a program on Save Soil movement in New Delhi today at 11 a.m. on the occasion of World Environment Day. The Prime Minister will also address the gathering during the program. More from our correspondent.
The Save Soil movement is a global movement to increase awareness about deteriorating soil health and bring about a conscious response to improve soil. The movement was started by Sadhguru in March this year, who embarked on a 100-day motorcycle journey passing through 27 countries. Today marks the 75th day of this 100-day journey. The Save Soil movement strives to rally the environmentally conscious around soil conservation, advocating the power of individual actions for policy change and public engagement. Prime Minister's participation in the program will be reflective of the shared concerns and commitment towards improving the health of soil in the country. With Dipendra Kumar, Suparna Saikia, AIR News, Delhi.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will launch a global initiative Lifestyle for the Environment Life movement on the occasion of World Environment Day today. The program will be held virtually this evening. The launch will initiate Life Global Call for papers, inviting ideas and suggestions from academics, universities and research institutions, etc., to influence and persuade individuals, communities and organizations across the world to adopt an environment-conscious lifestyle.
During the event, Mr. Modi will also deliver a keynote address. The idea of lifestyle for the environment, life, was introduced by the Prime Minister during the 26th United Nations Climate Change Conference of the Parties COP26 in Glasgow last year. The idea promotes an environment-conscious lifestyle that focuses on mindful and deliberate utilization instead of mindless and destructive consumption. The program will also witness participation of co-chairman Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Bill Gates, climate economist Lord Nicholas Stern, author of Nudge Theory Professor Cass Sunstein, CEO and President World Resources Institute Anirudh Dasgupta, World Bank President David Malpass, among others. Anupam Mish, AR News, Delhi.
The Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs will launch a Clean and Green campaign on World Environment Day today. Under this campaign, urban local bodies across the country will hold awareness programs to free the country of single-use plastic and contribute to improve the environment. The ministry also has issued a detailed advisory to state and union territories in this direction. In the advisory, the ministry has instructed to ban single-use plastics by the 30th of this month. The ministry further said that states and urban local bodies have to enter into memorandum of understanding with the nearby cement plants or other industrial units as well to ensure that a part of the plastic waste generated is used either as alternative fuel in cement plants or for road construction purposes. The advisory stresses on large-scale people participation to carry forward the message of single-use plastics ban and enforcement. On World Environment Day, President Ramnath Kovind has asked everyone to reaffirm their commitment to protect the planet for future generations by promoting sustainable development and responding to challenges of climate change. In a tweet, Mr. Kovind urged people to do their part to make the planet cleaner and healthier.
On the third day of his visit to Uttar Pradesh today, President Ramnath Kovind will be visiting Sant Kabir Nagar, where he will pay homage to Kabir, the great poet and saint of the Bhakti movement. The President will also visit Varanasi later in the day. More from our correspondent.
The President will reach Kabir Chaura Dham at Maghar in Sant Kabir Nagar at around 9:30 am. He will visit the Samadhi Sthal and Mazar of Kabir to pay tribute to the great saint. The President will plant a sapling here. Afterwards, he will reach the venue of the main event of the day at Sant Kabir Auditorium. Here the President will inaugurate Sant Kabir Academy and Research Center. Governor Anandiben Patel and Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath will also be present on the occasion. The President will also visit Varanasi in the later half of the day, where he will offer prayers at Kashi Vishwanath Dham. Shri Kovind will leave for Lucknow in the evening. The President is scheduled to address a joint session of State Legislature in Lucknow tomorrow. With Ajay Kumar Srivastav, Aditya Shukla, AIR News, Sant Kabir Nagar.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu arrived in Doha, Qatar yesterday on the final leg of the three-nation tour. He was received by Qatar's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs Sultan bin Saad Al Murekhi and other dignitaries at the Doha airport. Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Orindam Bagchi said in a tweet that the Vice President was accorded a ceremonial reception and a guard of honor at the Doha airport. Earlier, the Vice President successfully concluded his three-day visit to the Republic of Senegal. He reached Dakar on Wednesday on the second leg of his three-nation tour to Gabon, Senegal and Qatar. He held delegation-level talks with the President of the National Assembly of Senegal, Mustafa Niazi, at capital Dakar on Friday. Mr. Naidu is accompanied by a high-level delegation including Minister of State for Health and Family Welfare, Dr. Bharati Pawar, and three members of Parliament, Sushil Kumar Modi, Vijay Pal Singh Tomar and P. Ravindranath.
Union Minister of Coal and Mines Prahlad Joshi yesterday visited the ministry's public sector Navratna company NLC India Limited at Neyveli in Kadalur district, Tamil Nadu. He visited the Neyveli Mines 1 and the Eco Park nearby. He also inspected several facilities in the mines of the Mini Ratna company belonging to the Coal Ministry. The Government e-Marketplace GEM is promoting sustainable public procurement of products and services in association with the United Nations Environment Programme. Commerce and Industry Ministry said since the launch of Green Room air conditioners in June last year, GEM has taken a series of path-breaking steps to roll out new features and functionalities on the portal to promote the adoption of environmentally sustainable products and services. Speaking at a function in New Delhi yesterday, CEO GEM P.K. Singh said that GEM is prioritizing the listing and availability of environmentally sustainable products and services by targeting the largest selling products and services on the portal. He said that GEM has proactively created and listed new product and service categories and implemented new functionalities, namely forward auction for safe disposal of obsolete machinery and buyback option for disposal of obsolete assets. On the occasion, country head United Nations Environment Programme Atul Bagai highlighted that public procurement represents a sizable proportion of the government's spending. He said by promoting sustainable public procurement practices, governments have the opportunity to create high volume and long-term demand of sustainable products and services.
All ministers in the Naveen Patnaik government of Odisha submitted their resignations yesterday, paving the way for revamp of the state cabinet. Our correspondent reports that all 20 ministers tendered their resignations. New ministers are likely to be administered the oath today in the state capital Bhubaneswar. More from our correspondent.
A day after all the ministers and Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik's team put down their papers to make way for a new team to take over, the new ministry is scheduled to take oath in the Podon capital Bhubaneswar today. All eyes are now set on the chosen few who, under the leadership of Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik, would be expected to take the government and the party BJD to newer heights that include the assembly elections in 2024. The new team is likely to comprise of a number of new faces as ministers, while many others in the erstwhile ministry may be entrusted with organizational responsibilities. Girish Chandradas, AIR News, Bhubaneswar.
Union Minister for Health and Family Welfare and Chemicals and Fertilizers, Mansukh Mandavia, will today inaugurate food testing lab at Raxaul in Bihar. This laboratory has been established under Indo-Nepal bilateral agreement to reduce the time in testing of imported food samples brought into Raxaul from Nepal. It will facilitate cross-border trade with Nepal through reduced time of testing and faster report generation for the imported samples. Later in the day, the minister will also dedicate auditorium of AIIMS and CGHS building in Patna. Jal Shakti Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat has said that in the last 8 years, the Narendra Modi government has taken several initiatives for the empowerment of common man and to bring a change in their lives. Addressing DD News Conclave in New Delhi yesterday, Mr. Shekhawat said, for the proper management of water resources in the country, the government has formed Jal Shakti Ministry, and the ministry is giving special focus on providing clean drinking water to people, cleaning of rivers, irrigation and rainwater harvesting for groundwater recharge. He said the initiatives taken in the water sector in the last few years reflect the understanding of the importance of water management in reducing vulnerability and building climate resilience.
हमारी चुनौती और भी बड़ी इसलिए है कि हमारी जो है लगभग 90% से ज्यादा नदियां जो हैं वो बरसात पर मानसून पर डिपेंड करती है और भी चुनौती बड़ी इसलिए है क्योंकि क्लाइमेट चेंज के इम्पैक्ट जो सामने दिख रहे हैं उसके कारण से रेनफॉल पैटर्न्स चेंज हो गए हैं। पूरे साल भर का औसत बरसात एक ही जगह पर हो जाती है, फ्लैश फ्लड्स आ रहे हैं। ऐसे में ये आवश्यक था कि देश के जो जल संसाधन उपलब्ध हैं उनको हम ठीक से मैनेज करें और उस मैनेजमेंट की दृष्टि से सारे जल के संबंध में विचार करने वाले सारे मंत्रालयों को, डिपार्टमेंट्स को, सबको इंटीग्रेट करके माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जल शक्ति का गठन किया और एक समग्र समाधान की दिशा में हम लोग आगे बढ़े हैं।
Deep and multi-level economic reforms in the last 8 years have changed the way of doing business in the country. Economic reforms by the NDA government for simplifying tax filing, implementation of GST, digitalization of the economy and introduction of transactions through UPI have improved ease of living along with ease of doing business. These reforms have provided us a better than ever environment for business in the country. Due to these efforts, the Indian economy is expected to grow fastest among big economies in the world for a second straight year, putting the adverse effects of the coronavirus pandemic behind it. A report.
The last 2 years have been a difficult time for the whole world when the corona pandemic dampened economies around the world. Today, America, China, Japan and many countries of Europe are facing high levels of inflation. In these countries, where inflation is highest in 30 to 40 years, their rate of growth has also remained limited between 2 to 5%. There is no doubt that India has also remained untouched by the pandemic. But the prompt actions taken by the government and the sincere efforts to meet all the necessary needs of the people were the reasons that the expected rate of GDP growth is nearly double than the rate forecast for China, according to the IMF in the current fiscal. Talking to All India Radio, senior business journalist Sushma Ramachandran said due to financial inclusion through Jan Dhan accounts and credit facility for the domestic businesses during pandemic, the country is able to grow with faster pace than the other major economies.
हमारी निर्यात की स्थिति बहुत अच्छी है। $400 बिलियन 2021-22 की फाइनेंशियल ईयर में रिकॉर्ड लेवल पे आए हैं। सबसे जरूरी जो चीज की थी उन्होंने वो फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन थी। तो ये जो उन्होंने डिजिटल इकोनॉमी के थ्रू बैंक के खाते खुलवा दिए और जो भी बेनिफिट्स हैं उनके खाते में आ जाते हैं और वो अपने मोबाइल फोन पे देख सकते हैं और वो अपना पैसा निकाल सकते हैं। मैं समझती हूँ ये सबसे बड़ी चीज है।
Reforms and developments in the country's economy in the last 8 years have given us an opportunity that today we can proudly say that India is the fastest growing economy in the world. With Sanchio's report, Suparna Bhatia, AIR News Desk.
Talking to AIR, Managing Director of Mica Engineering India Private Limited gives credit to the MSME program for its flourishing business.
This opportunity we got because of MSME. I did several programs with them, just like the EDP, that is Entrepreneur Developmentship Program. So that is very useful for me for building my business in India and abroad also. This relationship and this knowledge and all these connections helped me a lot in my journey throughout in engineering field.
You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to attend program on Save Soil movement on the occasion of World Environment Day in New Delhi at 11 a.m. today. Prime Minister to launch global initiative Lifestyle for the Environment Life movement virtually this evening. Government to launch Clean and Green campaign on World Environment Day. Urban local bodies across the country to hold awareness programs to free the country from single-use plastic. President Ramnath Kovind to pay homage to Saint Kabir at Sant Kabir Nagar in Uttar Pradesh, also to visit Varanasi. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu arrives in Qatar, accorded ceremonial reception and guard of honor at Doha Airport. New ministers of Odisha government to be sworn in at Bhubaneswar today. Union Home Minister Amit Shah inaugurates the 4th edition of Halo India Youth Games 2021 at Panchkula in Haryana. Rafael Nadal to play for 14th French Open singles title against Casper Ruud this evening. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
कंपटीशन की अगर आप कर रहे हैं तैयारी तो उनके लिए ऑल इंडिया रेडियो पर हम लाए हैं अभ्यास, एक ऐसा कार्यक्रम जिसमें आप पूछेंगे सवाल व्हाट्सएप नंबर 9289094044 पर या फिर ईमेल करेंगे abhyas.airnews@gmail.com पर और हमारे विशेषज्ञ देंगे इसका जवाब। इस बार का विषय है इकोनॉमिक्स और सवाल भेजने की अंतिम तारीख है 8 जून। आपका अभ्यास हमारा प्रयास।
अपने बिजनेस को बढ़ाने के लिए लीजिए आकाशवाणी का सहयोग और दीजिए उसे बुलंदियों के पंख।
आपका बिजनेस लोकल है या राष्ट्रीय, आकाशवाणी देती है उपभोक्ताओं तक पहुंचने का हर विकल्प।
और अब तो आप घर, दफ्तर या दुकान पर बैठे बैठे कर सकते हैं आकाशवाणी के किसी भी केंद्र के लिए विज्ञापनों की बुकिंग।
आकाशवाणी के विभिन्न चैनलों पर विज्ञापन देना सुलभ और सस्ता।
बुकिंग है तो संपर्क करें 8700014242 पर
8700014242।
President Ramnath Kovind will host the Visitors Conference 2022 at Rashtrapati Bhavan on Tuesday, the 7th of June. He will present the Visitors Award 2020 in the categories of research and technological development. The two-day conference will witness presentations and deliberations on various topics such as international rankings of higher education institutions, collaboration between academia, industry and policymakers, education and research in emerging and disruptive technologies. The President is the visitor of 161 central institutes of higher education. Apart from the heads of these institutions, Education and Skill Development Minister Dharmendra Pradhan will also attend the conference. Union Home Minister Amit Shah inaugurated the 4th edition of Khelo India Youth Games 2021 at Panchkula, Haryana last evening. Youth Affairs and Sports Minister Anurag Singh Thakur, Minister of State for Youth Affairs Nishith Pramanik, Haryana Chief Minister Manohar Lal, Deputy Chief Minister Dushyant Chautala, Haryana Assembly Speaker Gyan Chand Gupta, State Ministers, MPs and MLAs were present on the occasion along with thousands of sportspersons from different states. Addressing the gathering at the Grand Sports Festival, Home Minister Amit Shah said he has no hesitation in calling Haryana the capital of sports. He said the whole country is proud of Haryana's sportspersons who won maximum medals for the country in international events, including the Olympics. Mr. Shah said Khelo India is a ladder to take the Indian players at center stage.
यहाँ पर खेलो इंडिया यूथ गेम का चौथे साल के गेम का शुभारंभ हुआ और मुझे बहुत हर्ष है कि मोदी जी ने इस बार ये मौका हरियाणा राज्य को दिया है जो पूरे भारत की खेल कैपिटल है, उसे कहने में किसी को कोई संकोच नहीं। और हमारी सरकार ने खेलों का आयोजन चरणबद्ध करके खिलाड़ियों को मंच देने का कार्यक्रम किया है। जो युवा है स्कूल में है तो आप खेलो इंडिया यूथ गेम में भाग ले सकते हैं और कॉलेज में है तो खेलो इंडिया यूनिवर्सिटी गेम्स में भाग ले सकते हैं।
He said Prime Minister Narendra Modi has made India proud in every field in the last 8 years and provided infrastructure for sportspersons to concentrate on the games is part of that. Mr. Shah said the sports budget of the country has been increased and it yielded results as well.
2014 में स्पोर्ट डिपार्टमेंट का बजट 866 करोड़ था, उसको बढ़ाकर 2022 में 1993 करोड़ तक पहुंचाने का काम नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने किया। इसका परिणाम भी मिला है। ओलंपिक के पदकों को देखें तो 16 में 2 पदक मिले थे, 21 में 7 पदक लेकर हमारे ओलंपियन वापिस आए। पैरा ओलंपिक की बात करें तो 2016 में 4 पदक मिले थे, 21 में 19 पदक लेकर हमारे खिलाड़ी वापिस आए हैं। ब्राजील में डेफ ओलंपिक्स में 17 में 5 पदक मिले थे, 22 में हम 16 पदक लेकर बाहर आए हैं।
The Union Home Minister lauded the Haryana Chief Minister for taking the state to new heights. Mr. Shah said the Khelo India Youth Games will continue till the 13th of this month and the sportspersons will compete in 25 sports. He wished success to all the participants and urged them to win medals for the country. Earlier, the Home Minister, accompanied by Haryana Chief Minister, laid the foundation stone for several projects. These include Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Government Medical College at Yamunanagar, Government Medical College at Kathal, and construction of raw water supply channel by Haryana to the 2,800 megawatt Gorakhpur Haryana Anu Vidyut Pariyojana. Earlier, addressing the event, Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports Anurag Thakur said the sports infrastructure had developed tremendously in the country due to the efforts of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He said the sports facilities for players have increased manifold. Mentioning his experience as a sportsman, Mr. Thakur said earlier there were minimum facilities for sportsmen. Now there are 347 accredited sports academies.
आज मैं कह सकता हूं कि खेल देश भर में नेशनल सेंटर ऑफ एक्सीलेंस 29 ऐसे चल रहे हैं। खेलो इंडिया सेंटर देश में 1000 बनाने की हमने कल्पना की है और उसमें 475 के लगभग हमने उसकी शुरुआत कर दी है। यही नहीं, जो खेलो इंडिया एक्रेडिटेड एकेडमीज हैं वो भी 247 हैं। खेलो इंडिया यूनिवर्सिटी गेम जो अभी हाल ही में हुई उसमें भी देश भर की 208 यूनिवर्सिटीज में थे 3900 एथलीट भाग लेने आए थे। यही नहीं, 3000 के लगभग युवा खिलाड़ियों को 10,000 रुपए प्रति महीना यानी कि साल का 1,20,000 रुपया देने का काम भी भारत सरकार करती है।
The next question of Amrit Mahotsav quiz will be shared with the listeners tomorrow. Celebrate 75 years of India's independence by participating in Amrit Mahotsav quiz with AIR News. And now let's listen to our special program Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव। Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
In today's episode, we remember freedom fighter Maulvi Ahmadullah Shah, who participated in the First War of Independence in 1857. A resident of Faizabad, Uttar Pradesh, Shah played a prominent part in organizing the independence activists and fought against the British forces at Faizabad, Lucknow and several other places in the Awadh region.
Under Shah's command, the independence activists inflicted heavy losses on the British Army and the Company Raj declared a reward of 50,000 rupees for his capture. Repulsed from Shahjahanpur, he appeared on the 5th of June 1858 near Awadh-Rohilkhand border. He was shot dead near Awadh-Rohilkhand border by the British Allied forces on the 5th of June 1858. The brutal British forces cut off his head and sent it to the British officials at Shahjahanpur for exhibiting it at the Kotwali. Even his body was burned and the ashes were thrown into the river. AIR News pays tribute to the great freedom fighter Maulvi Ahmadullah Shah.
We pay tributes to Manipuri freedom fighter Thoding, who was martyred on 5th of June 1875. A resident of village Rakmanpara, the Garo Hills, Meghalaya, Thoding took part in the last Garo resistance movement of 1875 against the British Army.
Thoding, along with other Garo warriors, fought continuously for 3 weeks to resist the British occupation, but was captured by the English army from the battlefield. Thoding was tried and sentenced to death. The brave Manipuri fighter was executed at Tura on the 5th of June 1875. We salute the great son of the soil.
বিধির বাঁধন কাটবে তুমি এমন শক্তিমান তুমি কি এমনি শক্তিমান আমাদের ভাঙা গড়া তোমার হাতে এমন অভিমান তোমাদের এমনি অভিমান
We also remember revolutionary freedom fighter Harendra Lal Chakrabarti, who was martyred on the 5th of June 1934. A resident of Chittagong, now in Bangladesh, Harendra Lal was involved in the Chittagong youth movement and participated in revolutionary activities.
Harendra Lal was involved in a bomb attack on Peter Cleary, the superintendent of police of Chittagong, at the Paltan Maidan. When the attack failed and 2 young revolutionaries were killed in the firing by the orderlies of the officer, Harendranath, along with Krishna Kumar Chaudhary, attempted to throw multiple bombs at him. However, the bombs failed to explode. The duo escaped the firing from the orderlies but were apprehended later.
Harendra Lal was tried by the special tribunal and sentenced to death. The sentence was confirmed by the High Court on the 18th of April 1934, and Harendra Lal was executed on the 5th of June 1934 in Medinipur Central Jail. AIR News salutes the great revolutionary freedom fighter.
We also remember revolutionary freedom fighter Mrinal Kanti Roy Chaudhary, who died on the 5th of June 1932. A resident of Joshore Town, Kolkata, Mrinal was born in 1903 to Durga Roy Chaudhary. He was a member of the Anushilan Samiti and was arrested for revolutionary activities on 10th of October 1930. He died during internment on 5th of June 1932 in the Devli Camp jail. We salute the great martyr.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
In Uttar Pradesh, death toll has risen to 12 in yesterday's explosion at a factory in Hapur district. 19 people have been injured in the incident. According to the police, the blast took place around 3 p.m. yesterday at a factory in Dhaulana village. The police are investigating the reasons for the blast. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has expressed grief over the incident and asked officials to help the injured. Hapur IG Praveen Kumar said action will be taken against those responsible for the blast. President Ramnath Kovind and Prime Minister Narendra Modi have expressed grief at the deaths in the accident.
In French Open tennis, Rafael Nadal will play for his 14th singles title of the tournament when he takes on Casper Ruud of Norway at Cote Philippe Chatrier in the men's final tonight. In women's singles, world number 1 tennis player Iga Swiatek clinched this year's title, beating US teenager Coco Gauff at Paris last evening.
Now let's have a look at the weather forecast for today. The national capital Delhi will have strong surface winds during daytime. The minimum temperature was 23 and the maximum will be 43 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will have a partly cloudy sky. The minimum temperature was 28 and the maximum will be around 34 degrees Celsius. Chennai will have a generally cloudy sky with light rain or drizzle. The temperature will hover between 30 and 39 degrees Celsius. Kolkata will have a partly cloudy sky with possibility of moderate rain or thunderstorm. The minimum temperature was 28 and the maximum will be around 36 degrees Celsius. Srinagar will have a mainly clear sky becoming partly cloudy later. The minimum temperature was 13 degrees and the maximum will be around 28 degrees Celsius.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. Most newspapers have prominently covered the DGCI clearance for Corbevax as heterologous booster dose. Corbevax gets approval as first mix and match booster vaccine, reports the Indian Express. Revoke bond, won't join duty, warned the Kashmiri Pandits, reports the Tribune. The Pioneer writes, transfer information leak puts Pandits' life in danger. Government made efforts to boost pro-people governance, says PM, says the Asian Age. Companies bring back COVID curbs as cases surge, writes the Economic Times.
And now before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to attend program on Save Soil movement on the occasion of World Environment Day in New Delhi at 11 a.m. today. Prime Minister to launch global initiative Lifestyle for the Environment Life movement virtually this evening. Government to launch Clean and Green campaign on World Environment Day. Urban local bodies across the country to hold awareness programs to free the country from single-use plastic. President Ramnath Kovind to pay homage to Saint Kabir at Sant Kabir Nagar in Uttar Pradesh, also to visit Varanasi. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu arrives in Qatar, accorded ceremonial reception and guard of honor at Doha Airport. New ministers of Odisha government to be sworn in at Bhubaneswar today. Union Home Minister Amit Shah inaugurates 4th edition of Khelo India Youth Games 2021 at Panchkula in Haryana, and Rafael Nadal to play for 14th French Open singles title against Casper Ruud this evening. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.